the only thing you have to think about when building a business around your passion is what do you need, not what you're hoping for. Because if you figure out what you need, you got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? I'm probably following the tracks of my life. I'm probably right now disproportionately my mom, and sooner than later, I'll be more like my dad. Much like what I went through, which is the first 14 years of my life was only mom. And then the next, kind of 15 years of my life was heavily dad. My dad did things for me that absolutely allowed me to be the enigma that I am for somebody who is such a self-promoter, gift of gab, sizzle guy. I'm convinced, which is tough to say out loud, that the things I most despise in people with charisma, I actually am, and that the parenting is what did it. That I was willing to lie, to sell. And that would have manifested as me with girls, and that would have manifested me with product. And I know this because I did it. Because at 14 and 15, I lied to sell wine. I just did. And so the fact that I got lucky and came into a father who looks at embellishment as a cardinal one strike, if you embellish to my dad, if D-Rock called my dad and said, right now, Sasha, you'll never believe this, 80,000 people just watched that clip, and the actual amount of people that watched that clip was 78,000, my dad would never trust D-Rock again.
Wow.
Yeah, so think about, I'm being serious. Think about what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Yes, we're talking about extremity around. So I went from gift of gab, what some people think I am when they first see 1 minute video, to being suffocated.
I was gonna say that word, suffocated. Did you feel suffocated?
In a great way. At the time, it was fear. I was fearful to embellish or lie to my dad. So it just started getting me into practice to not, which ironically had a countercultural move too. It made me not to everybody else, but made me to him ironically at times as well, because I didn't want to deal with the ramifications of delusional suffocation. Look, I think it's the patience. 4 years every day of Wine Library TV before anybody cared. Nobody watched. I've only really blown up in the last 2 or 3 years after doing it really hard every day, content of all sorts, wine then business, for 10 years. It's just a matter of time. The only thing that the two of you have to figure out is, what, if any, financial needs, not aspirations. This is a game of needing, not hoping. Of course we want you guys, the three of you, to make $1 million a year in advertising and affiliates and merchandise. Of course you would want you for sure. I don't want to impose what you guys are so young, you still have to figure out how much this has to be or not be or whatever, but of course. But the only thing you have to think about when building a business around your passion is what do you need, not what you're hoping for. Because if you figure out what you need and you can make it happen, well then you can wait for what you're hoping for because you love it. That's it. That will take the pressure out of growth, which will lead you to cry less.
Yeah.
I mean it.
Yeah. No,
so whether that means you're providing, whether that means you come up with whether that means up front you guys are like, no, we need another that we need, which doesn't, and needing gets real interesting. There's a lot of people that are so miserable, would dream about doing a Disney podcast, yet they go to Wegmans to buy all their food instead of maybe going to ShopRite. And in that $89 a week savings is their opportunity. That's how I really believe it. And so there's a lot of things you guys think are needs that aren't, in providing for them and providing for yourself. When you're doing this big of a passion project, I really think you'll win. I really do. I believe it. I just think it takes a lot of time. And in that 3 to 4 years where you have to give up stuff is where people fail.